Well, there are a lot of concerns being aired about the potential federal cuts and their impact on Coloradans' lives.
It is just one of the topics that's tackled on the newest episode of The Business Buzz on 9 News Plus, which just started airing yesterday. The show's co-host, Ed Sealover, is here to talk about it. Ed, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me on today.
Let's talk about some of the cuts that you guys focused on.
Well, we're focusing on some of the things that are going to affect business particularly. One of them is the issue of Medicaid. And there's been a lot of talk about what Medicaid cuts will do to patients, but I don't think quite as much about what they will do to the hospitals, particularly those in rural areas and in inner city areas that have a large load of Medicaid patients. If those folks are kicked off the Medicaid rolls, they're likely not going to get new insurance. They're going to come in for treatment at the hospital without being able to pay anything. And the hospital is going to have to respond likely by cutting services that are going to affect every patient. So that's something that we think that people should think about when discussing this topic. Another cut that we're talking about, or one that's not a cut but that isn't in the budget right now, is an effort being led by chambers of commerce across the state to get funding for a replacement fleet of aerial wildfire fighting planes at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs. Now, they're working on 30-year-old planes right now, and these are becoming less effective in the fight against wildfires, which are becoming bigger in damage and intensity. And they also, without the replacement fleet right now, there's a lot of concerns that Peterson may be seen as, open to more cuts, maybe moving this 302nd Air Wing, which employs 1,300 people, out of there to a base with newer fleets around it. And that's Peterson and its sister Space Force base, Schriever, have a $4.4 billion combined economic impact to the state. That is something people don't want to lose.
Right. Well, those are two things that are pretty big to chew on. What are some other big takeaways from y'all's discussion?
Well, we also talked this week about home rule and its impact on the housing affordability crisis here in the state. Recently, 6 cities filed a lawsuit against the state to stop 2 laws that went into place in 2024. One of them required cities and counties to zone more densely around transit areas, and the other bans them from putting parking minimums on apartments and condos in those areas. The idea of these laws is, look, we need to remove the local barriers so we can get more housing. A lot of counts say we're 100,000 units short of housing for what we need just for our population right now. But the cities are pushing back, saying that's not the state's business. It's up to us to decide how our infrastructure is going to work, how we design our community. And so we dig into the questions of what is an issue of statewide concern, and also if these laws aren't in place, how do we get that greater construction that we need to take care of that affordability crisis?
We actually have a clip from that discussion. Let's take a look.
Some people say, well, that's good. We need people to take control of their own health care, to pay for their health insurance. But the problem is, especially for rural hospitals where a lot of their population is on Medicaid, and this is very true of Denver Health, for example, as well, some inner city hospitals, are those folks going to get insurance, or are they going to be coming into the hospitals without insurance, which pretty much means they're not going to pay their bills? And so the question is, how much are these Medicaid cuts going to affect our hospitals' ability to serve their customers? What are they going to have to cut out in terms of services if they're not getting paid by Medicaid? And for some areas of rural Colorado, which those hospitals don't have a future without that.
Wow, super interesting stuff, Ed. Just remind us where and when we can watch this latest episode.
Well, this is going to be on the 9 News business page. It's going to be running for 2 weeks now, and it's about 15 to 18 minutes of good conversation on these issues for anyone who wants to dig into them.
Insightful conversation, too. Ed, thanks for joining us this morning. Good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on.